Hey guys, welcome back to the OPD podcast. We have made it to episode number 29, and today it's just me and Austin because we're doing a special episode on Austin's prep and how he gets to the Andreas Munzer level of conditioning without the death. Um,
Mm, not quite.
Close, as
Close. Not
close
quite.
as you can get without heading to the other
Without that.
side. So we did a couple of
Um,
question threads. Austin did one on his personal page, and we did one in the OPD group. And we got a few questions. So Austin, it's peak week, is it not? Are you like 4 days out, 5 days out?
How many? Well, I don't really count Saturday, so really, and today's almost over, so really, I only have Thursday and
Yeah,
Friday.
so it's close. How you feeling right now? Excited?
Yeah, yeah. Tuesday. I noticed that obviously, like depending on the way things are set up, like Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday of the last week are kind of a drag because you're not close enough to the show to be. You're excited, but you're not so close that can feel it yet, but you're not carb loading and you're not doing all those things. So those days are kind of a little bit of a drag. But yeah, I got most of the meals prepped and all that stuff. Everything's planned out. So yeah,
Nice,
doing
cool.
all right.
Um, I'll tell you what just popped into my head before we go any further. I had my first sleep with my CPAP machine last night.
Oh
Um,
yeah. So I have to ask because I know personally it took me probably a week or two to even get used to them. I don't know if it was just the mask. I think it was honestly the machine because the better machines and like the one that you have and the one that I have are auto
yeah,
paps, so they are self-adjusting. But man, I'm telling you, it took me like I felt like I couldn't
no,
breathe with it
same.
on.
Yeah, yeah. It was
Yeah,
stressing me out
it'll go.
initially, but then when I did fall asleep,
Yeah,
it was one of the deepest sleeps I've had, and I didn't get up once last night, and I usually get up 4 or 5 times. And also to note, for the first time in months, I had some really deep dreams.
yeah,
Haven't had that for a long time. So hopefully it's like a sleep upgrade. I just got to get used to the pressure. Yeah, I feel like I can't breathe with it on. It feels like not enough
yeah.
air's coming
You'll do
through,
it.
but yeah, we'll get there. Anyway, enough about me. Let's dig into these questions, dude. So, um, oh, by the way, as well, sorry, one more for anybody listening. We got Luke Sando on next week, so get your questions over for Big Luke. Um, he's a newly Metaform sponsored athlete, so yeah, we're getting him on pimping up Metaform. Um, okay, questions for Austin. So the first one came from Alex McConnell. How the fuck did he develop them hamstrings? Not
Hmm.
exactly prep related, but I guess the answer is that you trained them.
Yeah. Well, that's the simple answer. I think a lot of people too, they get like I like leg curls, and I think that leg curls have a lot of value. Um, and I know a lot of people do Romanian deadlifts or stiff leg deadlifts. I feel like they're so focused on doing the movement the way that they people don't load a Romanian deadlift like they do a squat.
Mm,
They just don't. And honestly, I think that's one of the biggest. I've done tons and tons of heavy, heavy,
yeah.
and um, and low bar squats too. So
Mm, cool.
yeah,
So just
but there you
loading
go.
the shit out of them. I do think hamstrings generally work better in a lower rep range. Um, Respond well to that
Yeah.
mechanical loading. Um, Mark Rhodes, does he have metabolic damage? I'm assuming this is a troll question.
Uh, I'll let you know after the prep. I'll be honest though, like you would think with the amount of tissue that I've gained over the years that that there would be some translation to a little higher caloric intake, and it doesn't ever really translate that way. But also, I'm 10 years older than when I started too, so I'm sure that, obviously that has plays into it.
You know
But
what you need to do?
the recoveries,
You
what's
need
that?
to take more T3, more clan, and more tren.
Well, the thyroid, we got the thyroid covered. I did remember my talking about me being hypo.
You need to
So,
take it up to
um,
100 micrograms. Trust me.
no, I'm not at 100.
Well, that's the problem.
Fucks with my sleep.
Yeah, I'm taking.
Well, which doesn't really matter because I haven't slept in a while, so
Hey,
it's
you
all
could
good.
just be eating instead, and then just take some DMP as well. Um,
Man, I don't know. I feel like I don't know if the metabolic advantage of DNP would even be worth it because I don't know that I could even function at this point because I can barely move as it
yeah, and
is.
then an additional 10% of your BMR is like 30 calories anyway.
Right. Yeah, because I have no fucking BMR right now. It's
Yeah.
nothing. It's
And for
terrible.
anybody listening, I am taking the piss here. That's not serious advice. Um, okay. This next question's from Ben Broadhurst. You might not want to answer this one, but I suppose you can be
That's
generalized.
fine.
So Ben says calories have always had to come down pretty low, so that's not too different. But have super sups, I'm guessing he means performance enhancing drugs, changed much in the past years?
Um, I think I would say the biggest thing is I think my whole philosophy on anyone in prep in general and the way that PEDs are used has changed a little bit because you and I talked about this. Um, Using them for the cosmetic effect and not necessarily just because a lot of people have this idea that you keep them super low all off season, then blast the shit out of them in prep, which has some merit, of course, but at the same time, um, I don't really see any benefit of going super high in prep. Um, for me personally, I retain muscle tissue
Mhm.
anyhow. I seem to, regardless. And we want some cosmetic effect. So that's really it. I mean, that's so no. The answer would be no. Really. I mean, um, it hasn't like exponentially increased a ton or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where the total milligram of dose lies for any one person to like maximize the cosmetic effect or the lipolytic effect of androgens, assuming we're talking about anabolics, or the performance enhancing benefits on strength that might uh, result in retaining more muscle tissue, or even in some circumstances building some. I don't know where that lies, but what is pretty clear is that there's a pretty strong inverted U that past a certain point, you're just going to be suffering more systemic stress. You're going to be
Yep.
hungrier, sleep's going to be worse, and at that point you're wasting time. You're missing the forest for the trees, basically. Um, you know.
Yeah. Because people joke like just up the trend or up this or up that when in reality, I mean, it's obviously there's a joking component, but some people they think that's serious response to them, and they when in reality, you just like you said, you're creating more systemic stress. You're really making yourself feel worse. If anything, if anything, there's like kind of like I said with the DNP thing. It's like you got to find that fine line where you can still perform at least good enough and get through your cardio and still keep your neat levels up and all of
Mm,
those things. So it's kind of a balance, you
yeah.
know.
And that
Um,
definitely comes into
yeah,
play with drugs like Trenbolone when it's like it does make some people extremely hungry and irritable.
sure,
So
absolutely. Yep, everyone.
cool.
Okay.
Okay, next question. Do you keep intra-workout carbohydrates in until the end of your prep, no matter what? Or when the hunger is getting really bad, do you prefer to use more solid food around the workout instead of drinking it?
Well, that's really easy for me to answer because I pretty much have no carbs for a
Yeah.
long time. So, yeah, I mean, but it just, so yeah, I mean, that's really the answer. But to generalize, um, it's really kind of person's preference. I mean, I don't think, because at a point, if your carbohydrates are that low and your body fat's low, like you're so insulin sensitive, um, that unless you're somebody that feels a really big performance benefit from intra-workout carbs, I would see no reason why you couldn't just eat them, you know, via whole food, to be honest. So, but at a point, I mean, obviously it's not like you don't just like automatically take them out, but I mean, if you're only having one, starchy carb meal per day, that's 50 grams of carbs or something. I mean, I'm going to eat those 50 carbs and I'm not going to put them in a shake and drink them while I
Mm,
train.
yeah.
So I don't know. There's not like a perfect answer to that, to be honest.
Cool. Cool. Cool.
Um,
Cool.
so
Okay. Next question is from Dr. Scott, actually, and this is a really cool question. Um, what are the three most important things, or more if so, Austin can take away from his prep, either of a personal nature, so things that might have changed his worldview, for instance, or a professional nature, everything from effective pre-contest strategies to reflections on social media?
Um, well, I don't know if I could name three things specifically, but I can say that every prep, there comes a point where it does bring you closer to your emotions in a way because you feel a certain way. It's hard to explain. I always say that it brings like, and I've posted this a few times, that pain is a good teacher.
Mm,
Um, it's, it's a different kind of pain than like people that are going through, because I've gone through, extreme depression or stuff like, like people that go through financial stress or things like there's different types of pain, but like physically pain where you just hurt, or you hurt, or you feel terrible all the time, it never goes away. It definitely gets you in touch with your emotions. I would say that every prep I would learn how to keep myself more centered and just functioning as normal as possible.
mm-hmm,
Um, it's just like ways to manage it, keeping normal work structure, normal, everything like that. As far as the actual prep, like dietary strategies and training and things of that nature, um, this prep was so similar to the last one that like not a lot changed. I would say that having worked with getting to collaborate with Jason this time has been cool because we I'm trying to think how I want to word it. Just as far as like the final strategy, it is nice to have that, that component there. I would say that you learn to be more comfortable with it when you have, even if it's just someone that agrees with you, like obviously there's comfort in that,
mm,
right? Because it reaffirms thoughts. Like I mentioned to you towards the end of the prep, we were changing things literally daily, a lot of days. Whereas if I were to do that myself, I would I would do it to an extent, but you second guess it and you question it and all that stuff. So I'll definitely take that with me into next prep, whether I do it on my own or or however. But yeah, it just you learn to be more comfortable with things. I mean, you do 10 preps or whatever. I think that's how many I've done, and you learn that what works and what doesn't at that
mm.
point. you get comfortable with it. So
Cool.
yeah.
Okay, moving on. Chris Harms. I'm sure it'll be touched on, but how many refeeds did you have during your prep, if any? And if so, did you base it
Yeah.
around time of being in a deficit, looks, feel, etc.?
Oh man, I have no idea how many I had because what a lot of people don't realize is I didn't post, about prep stuff my whole prep. I mean, I've been prepping since, dude, I've been prepping for, I don't know, 7 or 8 months essentially. So I mean, refeeds, I mean, I've a lot. I mean, almost every week, not every single week had one, but it had it pretty dialed to where it was just about every week. Towards the end here, it was a lot more sporadic. Like there could have been longer periods or shorter periods depending on look. But typically with a refeed, um, the leaner you get, the easier it is to kind of get to go by the look component. If someone's not that lean, I mean, it's hard to say, oh yeah, you're really, really flat and depleted and downregulated. The only thing you can really base that off of is how you feel and if your body, maybe your body weight. Whereas if you're, super lean, then you can see the response to everything and you can see the change day to day. So that gives you that extra set of feedback. Um, and so, I mean, that's how we would base it. The leaner you get, the more that you can base it off of look. Uh, but, at the same time, like myself personally, I do vary from flat to full, but not as drastically as some
Mm.
people. Because some people vary, in that look a ton. I mean, I definitely vary, just not quite as much as other people. So, yeah. Does that answer the
Yeah, I'd
question?
say so. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. I'm babbling.
keep babbling, man, because this is me sitting back, taking this in this episode. Um, Next question. How aggressive were you on ramping up your cardio and dropping calories? I know in your off season you can eat a ton and not push the scale, but when you diet, it's 100% opposite. And then someone added on, also add on how many weeks for total and how many calories did you start with?
Okay. Well, obviously it was pretty gradual just because it was so long. Um, it was, yeah, I mean, it was relatively gradual the whole entire time, which I don't know, because I don't think like I've tried it both ways where I've done shorter and bigger drops. And the idea behind that was we'll do a bigger drop because I won't adapt as quickly.
Mm,
It didn't really make any difference at the end of the day as far as like outcome and calories at the end. So um, I just chose to go slower. And the reason I went slower is mainly because I didn't have a show or anything
yeah,
picked out. And I wasn't like I had planned on competing a lot sooner than this, but this is just literally how it panned out because we had the seminar. Um, I mean, I never faulted in the plan or anything. It's just that I had those outside stressors that I know would affect me cosmetically, like the way I looked. So um, that's why it got stretched. But yeah, gradual. It was very gradual because I'm trying to think. I was probably eating. I mean, I was probably eating 4,500 calories, maybe a little bit more, maybe closer to 5,000. I probably not quite that much because I started a little bit leaner this time than I did last prep. And that's simply because my off season was shorter. So there was that and weeks in total. I mean, shit, I don't know. So it's whatever we'll say 7.5 months, just a medium number. I mean, that's like 30 weeks or so. So I mean, it's at least 30 weeks, maybe more. You know,
mm,
so there you go.
I think that worked really well for you, to be honest. The longer prep
Yeah,
and also not picking a show right away.
yeah, which which that works good for a lot of people. Maybe not necessarily the length, but just generally not having a show date. I mean, I literally had not even the slightest clue. I had no idea
Mm. Which is great
what
because you
show.
haven't got
So
any of that external pressure.
none, zero. I had none. I didn't even pick out a show until like 10 weeks out, 12 weeks out. Like whenever Jason and I had talked, that's like, okay, this is probably going to be the show. And even then, I was like, okay, we're looking at this time frame about give or
Yeah,
take.
it's the best way. It's the best way.
Yeah,
As as
I
many
would agree
clients I can do that for as I can, I will, if the situation fits.
for sure, no
Okay,
doubt.
next question from Patrick James Barney. How do you manage artificial sweeteners and sugar alcohols during your prep? Do you tend to stay away even when you get down to like 1300 to 1400 calories?
Well, I think it's probably important to note that there's quite a bit of a difference between artificial sweeteners and
Yeah,
sugar alcohol.
100%.
Not, I mean, there's just because sugar alcohols have caloric value, so those are going to be more impactful in terms of your actual calorie intake. So for sugar alcohols, I mean, I don't really take in any other than sugar-free gum, which is regulated. It's the same amount every single day. So that's how I accounted for those. And then as far as artificial sweeteners, it, I mean, full transparency. I mean, I take in a lot by the end, but I also know where my threshold is as far as like GI function. So I won't go past that point. Um, but no, I don't cut them out. I mean, I cut them out now. I don't have any right at the moment. Um, but I do know a couple things when it comes to those. I do know that I hold some water from them, but I don't ever take in so much that it causes any kind of GI distress. So that's kind of, and that's really, I mean, that's a good rule of thumb with anybody. You obviously, if you're taking in that much, then that's a problem. And that, like we talked about uh, beforehand, that just varies a
Hmm.
ton person to person. It could be, oh man, it could be, one Diet Coke a day, and that's about the limit where they can't even do that. Or some people can drink a 2 liter of Diet Coke every day, no problem at
Mm.
all. So yeah, that's,
I get a
yep,
crazy headache
that's
if I do
my
that.
answer. I don't really get them. But what I can say though is I actually feel like I do a little bit better with aspartame than I do
Oh, I do,
sucralose,
100%. Yeah, I have to agree with that.
which is, yeah, which is funny, because most of the people that talk about that are bash artificial sweeteners, they always refer to aspartame when in reality, aspartame has 10 times the research and safety, research behind it than any other
Mm,
sweetener out
mm.
there, any artificial sweetener. If anything, the literature might say that sucralose has a lower limit. I can't remember for sure, but I noticed that more, like I said, more people do poorly with sucralose than they do
Hmm.
aspartame.
No, I
So
have to agree.
take that for, yeah.
Okay, next
Okay.
question. Um, this is a pretty general question. I don't know if there's any way that you could possibly answer this, but Louis Zito, plans post show. How will you transition off season?
I actually was thinking about this earlier this week because I was like, man, I it hadn't even crossed my
Mm,
mind. I hadn't because I was talking to Jerica about it. I haven't thought about my nutrition post show, my training post show, where I'm gonna eat after the show or any of that shit. I had literally not even nothing had even crossed my mind.
you haven't
So
even
I
shared any
did
food
some.
porn on Facebook, man. You're not a proper competitor.
Yeah, I won't. I don't. Jerica asked me too. She's like, "Do you?" Because when her brother competed, and then the other one of my clients actually lives with us. He she made them some kind of treat, whatever. She's like, "What, if I were to make something, what would you want me to make?" I said,
Yeah,
"Nothing. Make me like a protein cheesecake."
yeah, small one.
and I'll fit it in my
Yeah.
macros. Something. But no, I haven't even didn't even cross my mind. But I like I said, I've done some rough planning now. I'll probably cut my training frequency back just a little bit because I was training a little more at the end just for the extra expenditure. I'll probably just drop to 4 days cardio. Uh, Absolutely pull the hit cardio out right off the bat, just because I know my CNS, like I know what it feels like to be beat up, and it is very beat up. So I'll do that. Um, I will also try to no training will be to failure until I feel that it's appropriate. Um, but I'll keep at least moderate volume in there. I don't necessarily want to just drop my volume down to nothing because I don't want to lose that expenditure either. See, the thing about my situation, it's very, very delicate because I'm doing so much and I'm so down regulated that if I were to pull a bunch of cardio and pull a bunch of training volume and add a bunch of food, I mean, I would get fat.
Mm.
So calorically, calorically, I've found if I add about 750 to 1,000 calories a day tops, I'll do fine. And if I if I notice that once I super compensate and completely top off glycogen wise, if I start to spill slightly, I can just back it down to like the 500 to 600 range and let things stabilize and then start adding from
Hmm.
there. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'll definitely going to have to add some fat back in because I've been doing trace fats, and then the rest I'll add through carbohydrates. Uh, so yeah, that'll be like a rough plan.
Cool. Okay,
So
we've got an
yep.
electrolyte question. You've talked about adding potassium the final day or so, along with a higher sodium intake. Can you go into this for us? How do you know when and how much to add? What sources of potassium do you use, etc.?
I think that if I said something like this, it might have been
Yeah.
misunderstood because I add potassium all the time and add sodium as well. So uh, my ratio has been about 1 to 1 the whole time. Uh, I I'm just I would be slightly higher in potassium for most of the time, but I'm talking in minuscule. I mean, I'm pretty close to 1 to 1. The only difference would be I'll shift a little harder towards sodium with the rapid backload, and then the morning of. That'll be mainly it. Potassium will stay relatively stable,
Hmm.
and then I add as far as like sources go. I mean, I eat tons of green veggies, and so I mean I get potassium that way. I just add honestly, I buy bulk potassium chloride from bulk supplements. I literally do that. I fill a little like little salt shaker full and then measure it, and that's it. It's super cheap, and that's easy way for me to do it. So
Cool.
yeah,
Cool. Um, Next question. How's your overall gut health been throughout the prep? And is there any specific supplements you've used to manage it?
my GI was really really good the whole time except for that one whatever I picked up when we went over to the UK, something viral, maybe. I'm not sure. Remember I was a wreck there for a while, but that was just because I was sick. But like in general, I mean, it was good. Actually, I think we were talking about this that even on the really low calories, I was still having really frequent bowels. I mean, even to now, I've had bowel movements at least 2 to 3 times a
Mm,
day.
that is good.
And it's very good, but you also have to consider that I'm eating a lot. I was eating a lot of uh, veggies involved. I mean, so I handle veggies pretty well as far as like GI goes. I kind of know where my threshold is. So obviously that was a lot of what I was passing, but still, I mean, you got to figure that that's also cleaning out all the other waste at the same
Mm,
time. So I mean, I was staying pretty regular. Gut health. I mean, I really didn't change anything, to be honest. I didn't really change anything that I would normally use. off the top of my head, I mean, I use, oh shit, I can't think of stuff I use. I mean, I tell you what, I did change a couple things. I did add a digestive enzyme and extra betaine HCl at towards the end, and the reason being is because I actually find as my digestion slows down, I'm theorizing, but I'm producing less enzymes and actually less, overall stomach acid because of less demand,
Yeah.
And then the issue would be that my issue would be that when I would have these big fluxes in food, because my food is so cyclical, I could do a huge refeed and then go back down to nothings, that my stomach really wasn't prepared for that. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I had to I introduced those things. Uh and then I didn't really introduce anything new. Pepsin GI I always use. Shit, man, there's a bunch of stuff that I use. I mean, I would eat foods that were cultured. I mean, I would get most of like probiotic cultures from food.
Mm.
So I would do like cultured grass fed yogurt and things like that. I seem to handle that well. And then, um, and trying to think if there was anything else. Like I said, I didn't add anything else. Glutamine. I was using glutamine. I've used glutamine up to the whole time. I'm just at a low maintenance dose now because I mean it does have caloric value. So, I'm trying to save every little bit I can, but I did use extra glutamine when I was sick there, and that seemed to help. And then I backed down to just a maintenance dose of just do 10 grams a day.
Hmm.
Just general like stuff, and the same thing with the Pepsi. I mean, it's just generally GI repair, keeping the lining of the GI intact, and then all the other stuff that affects gut microbiome, just trying to manage stress,
Mm.
inflammation, all those things.
I've been
So
really into sauerkraut and stock recently.
I like both
Yeah, I've
actually.
been using both daily. Uh, it's been working
Yeah.
well. I like the pepsin as well. The betaine with the pepsin's
Yeah.
good. Glutamine I keep in there
Yeah.
as well. So yeah, that's all the questions. So maybe because
Is that
that,
the
yeah, that's all of our questions that we got. We covered it. 40 minutes, we smashed it. Um, so
yeah.
maybe,
There is, there is
sorry.
there is one more
Oh,
on
is
here
there? Oh,
actually.
sorry, have I missed
Yeah. It says I know you're health oriented. At what point did you go all out, if at all? And would you say for the final six weeks blindly, unless you felt something was off health wise? Or do you check BP? And for example, do you check BP, and if it spiked, do you back down, etc.? Well, I, I'm assuming he's referring more to PEDs. I really went over that topic already. And here's the thing. I mean, unless you're even, I mean, I'm pretty conscious of, like I said, keeping GI health intact, taking cardiovascular subs. I mean, all those things. But inevitably, you're going to be pretty wrecked if you have to do what I have to do to get into condition. So it's and like I always say, it's more of a time thing. If I were to sit around in that state for you know months after the show, and that's a bad thing. If your blood work looks bad for 6 weeks, it's not the end of the world. You know, it's just more of a time thing. But yeah, I mean, and then as far as all out in terms of worrying about metabolic damage or something like that, I mean, fuck, I would just have to quit competing if I was worried about it.
it? Yeah.
So I'll take it for what it is. It's calculated risks. I mean, shit. I'm not too, I wouldn't be too worried if my thyroid was trash and I had to go on thyroid replacement. I truthfully wouldn't care. Now, if I was putting myself at, risk of like massive cardiovascular events or something just because I'm being stupid, then that's different,
Hmm.
you know. But yeah, that's the last one. So go ahead with your whatever you were going to talk
Fair
about.
enough. No, I was just going to say, since we covered the questions, we could just talk a little bit about maybe what your tentative plans are for peaking for the show this weekend.
Oh yeah. So 2 days, it's essentially the same thing I did in the practice peak with a couple tweaks. See 2 days long, mainly tomorrow will be fats. Um, it's going to be 90 grams. That's tentative plan. Did 70 grams on the test. I actually lost weight that day. I mean, not saying I'll lose weight this time, but going to go just a slightly harder on the fats. That's pretty basic. I mean, I'll just spread those out through the meals, make sure it's stuff. I tolerate fats well, so I don't really have any issues there. Just mainly to fill the intramuscular triglycerides. That's it's a good idea for anyone, and it's especially going to be a good idea for me considering how depleted my triglyceride stores are going to be inevitably from eating 10 grams of fat forever. So it has a pretty significant impact on me personally just because of the dietary situation. So, um, and then Friday will be rapid backload. 950 carbs are planned, which in reality, with my lean body mass and how depleted I am, I could probably go higher. My saturation is going to be a little bit higher. I'm not training that day. I'm not doing cardio, none of that. I'll just pose and stuff as, time allows and see how I feel. But like we've discussed, I kind of know, we kind of know like where that sweet spot lies. 80% full, 100% hard and dry.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's really where I need to be at. I'm not somebody that's going to push that, full envelope. I mean, I can definitely go more than 950 if I need to. During the practice, we went 850, and my blood glucose hadn't moved, and I wasn't quite full enough, so we added another 100. And so, I mean, I could always add more tomorrow if need be. I'll have extra food sources and all that good stuff if needed. But that's a tentative plan, 950. Like I said, water will stay pretty much constant the whole time. Water's high right now. It's just, 2 gallons plus. I'm just pissing forever just to keep diuresis up. Will cut off water at night tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
night. So not a super long cut, and there won't be any issues with aldosterone at that point because I mean it's not going to be a very long period before hit prejudging. Be little bits of water in the morning. Um, Trying to think what else. Well, and I could, Saturday morning, most likely the plan is to do a couple fat meals first
Mm-hmm.
off, shift back, shift back to fat meals probably. Time wise, it looks like I'll probably get 3 meals in. So we'll go 2 protein fat meals, and then uh, go a protein carb meal, and then just some quick glucose sources before stage time. I mean, basically nothing. It's nothing super elaborate because I'm my body gets real finicky in those situations and with past experiences, so it's better just to err on the side of caution. So that's the plan. I assume that it'll probably pretty much pan out like that, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have any questions? I mean, you can add if you have specific questions on there.
It's hard for me because I know what you're. I'm trying to think what people would be wondering, you know?
Well, maybe like food sources. I can actually tell you guys what
Yeah,
I'm
go
eating
ahead. So
for
I'm
Friday.
assuming you're sticking to stuff that
I
you've
don't
been
know.
eating for the last 30
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah. It's the same stuff I've refeed on. Essentially, it's just that it's higher quantities. I did increase, so I will increase meal frequency on that day. It'll be more meals than usual. Probably end up being 7 meals for the day. I had 6 down, but I have that seventh. Like I kind of planned out my day time wise if I need to hit that seventh in there to add some carbs. But uh, carb wise, sweet potatoes, rice cakes, uh, white rice. What else? Rice Krispie treats, and that is it.
So rice.
Yeah, I mean all the right stuff. Yeah, other than the sweet potatoes, but I am having I am having 3 meals with sweet potato in there. So I mean
That's probably more than
there'll
I
be
can
a
handle. I
relatively
have to stick to just rice-based carbs pretty much.
yeah. Yeah, I do really good with yams. I know some people don't. I'll rotate sources too. So I'll go like rice potato, rice potato type of deal.
And I
And then
suppose you're putting that into your electrolyte totals as well.
yeah, right, because the yams are obviously going to be higher
Yeah,
potassium than the rice, and protein uh, protein on the day is about 200 grams, so lower. It's lower, and that's it. And the thing is that I mean it's a little bit of added protein in the meals, but not a lot, just because you're getting so much indirect from 950
yeah,
carbs, really. So you know, and fats on the day are 55 grams. I know some people they rapid backload with a lot more fats, but just for just to like I said, just to play it safe and just to precautionary for the digestion, we'll hit the fats tomorrow instead. So the fats will still be there. They'll just be
yeah.
separated from from the carbs. Yep. So that's kind of where I'm at on that
Using any
side of things.
over-the-counter diuretic or anything?
Uh, I do have on hand. I don't. Oh, just on Friday, it'll probably just be a couple servings, keep water high, keep it moving through, and then if absolutely necessary, like a quarter tab of diazide. I'm like a teeny tiny
Yeah,
amount. So, but frankly, it wasn't probably not going to be necessary. I mean, just from what I saw at the practice, and then especially if we, because when I did the practice peak, I didn't cut artificial sweeteners. I had dairy in there. I didn't cut water at night at all. You know what I mean? So it's going to be all those things will make a pretty large difference as far as the way that I
yeah.
looked.
Visually, I don't think you're of the physique that I'd ever use a diuretic on, to be honest.
No, I don't. I doubt it's going to be necessary. So could be precautionary, but like I said, probably won't be necessary. I'm trying to think if there's
Well,
anything
training
else.
this week.
I mean, oh yeah, well, yeah, tomorrow will be the last day, but it'll just be basically like a
Submaximal
upper
circuit or
body
something. Yeah.
circuit. Yeah, we're talking real light just to move blood, but that's most of the week has been like last leg training was about 7 days out, and then rotated through everything else with about the same volume as I normally use, but the intensity was obviously a lot lower. And truthfully, like I felt really, really bad. Like I felt so terrible just like picking up the weights. Um, I felt very unsafe and unstable, so I backed all the weights way off
Yeah,
this week.
well, you're not losing any muscle at this point anyway. You might as well just partition some nutrients, right, and get blood moving.
Yep. Yep. So we'll do that. And like I said, nothing Friday. Cardio's just been totally by feel as needed. Like we
Suppose the hits out.
didn't have, oh yeah, pulled the hit out about the same time that the last leg session's about it was like 7 or 8 days. And then, um, didn't actually, I started dropping weight really fast this weekend. And then we got that to slow down through a couple carb days. So the last couple days have been just kind of to, redeplete, if you will, before we load. So I've had cardio. I did have cardio yesterday and then today none. So I won't have any
Yeah,
more.
sweet. That's
Yep.
pretty comprehensive, man.
So
I'm not sure that there's much more to go over, and I think the thing to learn from that is how simple this can be to be effective. And peak week doesn't need to be something where you need to uh, suddenly do something that you haven't done for the last however many weeks. You know.
yeah, it doesn't. And practice, take notes, things. And you got to figure too. I mean, I have almost 10 years of
Yeah,
notes and feedback and practice. So, I mean, it's not like this is just going into this blind.
yeah.
So. Yep.
It's interesting to compare to last year and the way you did things then as well.
Yeah, it's different. And I think I should actually note that one of the biggest differences that I think will be advantageous is that the weigh-in is actually Saturday morning, which is really odd because almost all NPC shows check in the night before, almost all of them.
Yeah, so you're not forced to go out
So,
and get some huge mixed meal or something, you know.
well, yeah, because you think at first glance you might think check in closer to the show would be bad, but I mean, obviously I'm going to be way lighter Saturday morning than I am
Yeah,
Friday night.
exactly.
So I was actually excited when I saw that. I had to check with the promoter to make sure because now I can pretty much load freely and be good to go Saturday morning, which that's one of the biggest things that hurt me last year was just that weight and time. I probably could have done a couple things different. And, but, the weight situation was not ideal. But this year it should be a
Have you
little
got some
different.
legal posing trunks this year?
Yeah. Did you see the ones I
Oh
posted?
yeah, what color are they? Are they pink or something?
They're fuchsia. Fuchsia is the actual color.
I'm
I'm not sure if
I'm
that's
colorblind, so
there, but
but
yeah, it's Jerica picked the color.
nice. You're not going black like the shadow then, trying to
Ah,
stand out.
no, no, no black,
Fair play, man.
but
Well, I think that's pretty
yep,
comprehensive, man. We've pulled in just under an hour, so yeah, I think I mean we answered everyone's questions and went over the basics. So I mean we can always cover more if anybody wants us to after the show and talk a little bit more post show. If you guys get back to us on this episode, anything that we missed out that you want to know, just let us know, and we'll slide it in the end of the next episode. No problem.
sure thing. Yeah, we can obviously just briefly go over it, then they can ask whatever they want. But sounds good to
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Okay, well, everyone wishes you the best of luck, man, and you've done everything you need to do now, so just enjoy it, roll in, and do what you need to do, man. I suppose this is going to be your last time in this weight class as well, so enjoy it.
Yeah, yep. This will be it. That's the plan. Just go ahead and finish it out here, and then take whatever time I need to go up.
Good shit, man. Good
Yep.
shit. Cool. Okay. Quick word to our sponsors before we drop off. Metaform. So, Austin, you've just done a video over at the new Metaform YouTube page talking about what it is and how it works and whatnot. That was really cool, man.
Link that up. Make sure you link the YouTube
Yep.
on
So the
there.
YouTube is now going to be in the podcast links below, so you guys can go and check that out uh, for a breakdown of exactly what Metaform is. Because Austin, I know you must get it all the time, messages from people wondering how it works and what it is and stuff. So now we got a video we can just easily link over. Yep.
Yep.
So, guys, that's metaform.com, by the way, if you want to go and order. Metaform's a hyaluronic acid water-based site enhancement product, the first and best of its kind. Don't trust any of the hyaluronic acid imposters that you see now. Also, big shout out to Compaq, KOMPAK.store, one-stop shop for all of your show day needs, especially you bikini girls. Get your box in, and it's all personalized. You don't need to shop around. So rest and do not stress. There's one place to get it all from. And we're going to be announcing our new sponsor next week that you guys are going to love that I mentioned. So yeah, hold on for that one. So thanks for listening, guys. Bit of a shorter one this week, although it was an hour. But yeah, we all wish you the best of luck, Austin, and I'm sure we can get some show photos up as soon as it's done.
Yep. Hopefully they have good lighting. It's always hit or miss. Sometimes they look awesome and sometimes they make everyone look like 20 weeks out, but we'll see. You never
Yeah,
know.
sweet. Nice one, man. Okay, cool. Well, I'm off to bed to strap on the CPAP. I'm gonna take some CBD and some zinc first and some growth hormone, and then hit the sack, ready to attack another day tomorrow. So yeah, we'll catch you guys next time. In the meantime, keep your questions coming in onto the group. If you want in the group, just message me and Austin and we'll get you in. And thanks for listening as always.